Will North Korea actually, regardless of what is agreed to, will North Korea actually stick to what they say that they're going to do?
I think this commitment to stop the testing is probably a little more credible than past commitments, because the North Koreans are really in a lot of light now, right? I mean, the world is watching. There's a real spotlight on the two summits coming up, the ones with the South Koreans this week and then the Americans sometime in the next 6 weeks. So it would be exceptional if the North Koreans were to engage in the usual flim-flam now, because everybody's listening. But I mean, ultimately, I mean, you're right. I mean, we've had these kinds of issues in the past with North Korea, right? Ultimately, whether or not they stop testing will depend on verification. That means inspectors getting in there. That means cameras, things like that. The North Koreans have traditionally been pretty uncomfortable with that kind of stuff. So when the president says only time will tell, I mean, he's basically correct, right? We just have to wait and see if the North Koreans will let us in to verify. And if they don't, then, then it stops.
What do you think that they will agree to? I mean, do you think that they're going to just refrain from developing new weapons, or do you think that they're going to give up what they already have?
Yeah, so that's the big question, right? I mean, if they stall where they are now, that in itself is a bit of progress. It doesn't feel like progress now, but in 10 or 12 years, when the North Korean program is getting more obsolete or something, it will be considered so. The big question now, though, in the short to medium term is, can we actually get some kind of rollback of the program that exists? I have to agree with many of the other analysts that you've been putting up, and you see generally in the global media, I think people have been pretty responsible in their response to this last few days, is that they probably won't, right? They'll probably want to hold on to these things. I mean, look, if they didn't want to have nuclear weapons, they never would have built them, right? They say they want denuclearization. Why'd they build them to begin with? It would be remarkable if they spent 40 years developing these weapons and then were to give them away. Probably not. They'll probably hold on to at least maybe 30 or 40. I mean, that's pretty good for deterrence. I would be astonished if they were to give them all up.
Robert, I guess you could take this negotiating stance from North Korea as a sign that the sanctions are really starting to bite, and they're looking for some way to loosen the sanctions. How much trouble do you think they're facing with the sanctions? And do you think there are going to be some carrots involved in this? Do you think they're going to get a break on some of these areas in return for the negotiations?
Yeah, on the sanctions, it's hard to know, right? I mean, at best, we have anecdotal data. You hear stuff about sort of gas lines in Pyongyang and things like that. I mean, it's really hard to know. Most of the stuff that North Korea needs comes through China, so it's really the Chinese who will be able to tell us better, and they've traditionally been a little bit hesitant about that. There have been data issues with the Chinese in the past. But as you say, I mean, there is a growing body of reporting that suggests that North Korea is having trouble getting what it needs. And they have certainly demanded sanctions relief, and they have asked for that again and again and again, both informally and through KCNA, their media outlet. So I would imagine that, yes, that's one of the big things they're going to ask for. In fact, my thinking is that one of the reasons why they're saying all these nice things in the past couple of weeks about not objecting to the alliance anymore, not objecting to U.S. forces here, this test, all this is designed to soften the ground so that they can ask for sanctions relief. Yes, I think that's coming.
Still watching? Perfect. Click here to watch another great video from CNBC International. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.